You saw Hurricane Michael has displaced many, and they're in dire need of help.
Volunteers of the Red Cross in Corpus Christi understand that need and are deploying to Florida to assist any way they can. Our Marissa Cummings joins us now in the studio with the details. Marissa.
That's right, Mackenzie. The Red Cross reports that 1,500 volunteers of the organization will be needed on the ground in the aftermath of Michael. Their duties will range from things like setting up shelters to handing out hot meals. Now, the exact number of volunteers deploying from the coastal bend is unclear. That's because many of them are going straight from assisting with the devastation in the Carolinas down to Florida. Thomas Martinick is the program manager for the Red Cross in the coastal bend. He says after being affected by Harvey, the number of volunteers in the area wanting to give back has grown.
The number always goes up. I think as disasters happen and people see the need and the need hits close to home, that people really want to help out their community and help out others.
There are currently 1,000 Red Cross volunteers helping in Florida as of right now. If you want to become a volunteer or donate, you can find out how at redcross.org. Mackenzie.
Thank you, Marissa. Well, some good